The highly anticipated release of Stranger Things 2 raised some new questions to consider during the series' hiatus. Reddit user and superfan Peter Shin is already speculating what might happen in Season 3. Rather than having the primal animalistic Demogorgon remain as Hawkins' #1 threat, the series introduced a larger, more sentient villain, the Shadow Monster.
It deliberately tried to take over Will, because I guess that was a way for it to further enter the real world.
The Shadow Monster, which Dustin later IDs as the Mind Flayer, might be stuck in the Upside Down for now, but it doesn't seem ready to accept defeat. And in Netflix's after show, Beyond Stranger Things, Ross Duffer revealed the evil being's possible targets for Season 3.
Will has a connection to it, even if it's lost. You were very close to it for a while. And then this thing is very aware of 11.
I'm screwed.
You're screwed.
It's also important to note, both 11 and the Shadow Monster are described as having psionic abilities. When journalist Murray Bauman first comes to Hopper with concerns of a Russian child in Hawkins, he says,
"A girl who may have psionic abilities."
Then in episode 8, Dustin compares the Shadow Monster to the Mind Flayer, which also has psionic ability according to the Dungeons & Dragons handbook. One of the main concerns throughout Stranger Things 2 is the expansion of the Upside Down. When Dr. Owens explains the situation to Hopper, he warns,
"It's been spreading, growing beneath us like some cancer."
Since 11 is responsible for opening the gate to this other dimension, it would make sense that she has an innate connection with the Upside Down and its inhabitants.
Maybe it's just growing because 11 is growing too, right? As she gets, her powers become stronger, maybe the Upside Down and the creatures in it will get stronger too.
Speaking of creatures, where did all those demodogs come from?
Demodogs?
Demogorgon. Dogs.
According to the site Fandom, once or twice throughout its lifetime, the Mind Flayer lays eggs that tadpoles hatch from. So it's likely that the eggs Hopper found in the Upside Down last season were evidence of the Demodogs in Season 2. And given Dustin's relationship with Dart, it's possible for these Demogorgons to connect with humans.
You know I won't hurt you.
It'll be interesting to see if the Duffer Brothers incorporate this relationship into future seasons. Electricity was a recurring motif in Season 1, whether it was used when Will communicated with Joyce from the Upside Down, or as a sign that the Demogorgon was near. In addition, lights flickered at times when 11 used her powers, hinting at her inextricable tie to the Upside Down. While Stranger Things 2 doesn't have as many of these scenes, there are a couple worth noting.
The lights flashing again. That happened with Terry Ives, and it happened at the end when 11 was closing the gate.
When 11 visits her mother, she learns more about her past. Since Ives is unable to communicate with Elle in the real world, she initiates conversation through the lights in her home. While Becky is convinced it's just the wiring,
Sweetie, really, it's just the wiring.
11 knows her mother is trying to tell her something. Since Terry was able to talk to 11 in the astral plane,
Jane.
could a part of her be alive somewhere in the Upside Down? And given the symbolism of electricity in Season 1, could this be further evidence that Terry partially exists in another realm? Light also plays a role at the end of the season when 11 closes the gate. As she uses her powers, not only do the headlights on Billy's car get brighter, but so do the lamps in Hopper's cabin. It's hard to believe there won't be side effects for Dustin and Hopper after being sprayed in the Upside Down. While Hopper is shown puking up particles as a result, Dustin doesn't seem to be as affected by his exposure, at least for now.
I'm okay.
Dustin is kind of comic relief, but having him suffer like that would be like really emotional, right? And same with Hopper. He's like so strong, so rugged, but seeing him become super vulnerable and weak would be like a really interesting turn.
In Season 3, it's possible Hopper and Dustin may experience similar visions as Will and even be used as hosts by the Shadow Monster. Episode 7 was met with mixed reviews, but the Duffer Brothers argue it was essential to Eleven's storyline. In an effort to learn more about her past, Elle pays her sister Kali a visit. Kali, also known as 8, displays different powers and encourages Elle to explore the full extent of her abilities. Shin believes the lost sister is not the only test subject we'll meet throughout the series.
Maybe there's another test subject who's way more powerful than her, or older than her, or more damaged, more volatile and reckless.
So far, we've only met 11 and 8, but based on Terry Ives' missing children files, there could be more out there. According to an ex-Hawkins lab employee, Dr. Brenner isn't dead.
He is alive.
And when he appears in front of 11 thanks to Kali's powers, he says,
"You have to confront your pain. You have a wound, 11. A terrible wound.
He goes on to add,
It will grow. Spread.
Get out of my head.
And eventually, it will kill you.
So what does that mean for 11? In an interview with Vulture, Ross Duffer mentioned that the wounds in Season 2 take the shape of the giant and continuing to grow rift between our world and the Upside Down. And in the final episode, Elle is able to close that so-called wound by tapping into her traumatic past. Now that we know Dr. Brenner is likely still alive, will Elle find him conducting more tests on children? And more importantly, could one of these experiments accidentally reopen the gate to the Upside Down and release the Shadow Monster? While the creature may have been banished from Hawkins, Dr. Owens once said,
All living organisms develop defense mechanisms against attack. They adapt. They find some way to survive.
if that's true, then the Mind Flayer showdown with 11 only made it stronger. And although we can't definitively say what's next for Hawkins, it's clear this monster's quest for world domination has just begun.